Welcome to another basketball edition of the Adrienne Ross Show. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Indiana Fever game versus the Minnesota Lynx. The game the Indiana Fever lost, a game they certainly wanted to win. Yes, you want to win every game, but this might be an early matchup in the playoffs. And so you definitely wanted to come out, and especially after all the accolades with Coach of the Month, Player of the Month, Rookie of the Month, the triple-double, making the playoffs, on and on. You know, you definitely like to follow that up with victory after victory after victory. Didn't turn out that way. My comments today will be sort of general, although I'll make some specific points. And I say that because I did live during the game. So we were watching, we were communicating about what we saw, and also hung out a little bit after the game and we talked some more. So you can go back to that video and you can check out some of the really specific things we got into during the game. I will say this though, specifically, the start to the game for the Indiana Fever was wonderful. They came out with energy at home. Obviously the crowd's in it. And I liked what I saw. I was concerned about the third quarter because there seems to be a history of not doing so well in the third quarter. But as I said during the game, so say I now. Basketball is a game of runs. So when Minnesota began to go on a run, and let's just face it, Coach Reeve is a good coach, a very good coach. When, you know, she's going to make adjustments. They're going to make adjustments. So first of all, you can't get too high. Yeah, you enjoy the moment, but you realize this is a game of runs and they're going to make a run. Your point, your focus has to be that when they do make that run, that you stay composed, that you make adjustments, and that you keep balling. You know, that you have to be able to sustain the runs. They're coming. What are you going to do with them, right? But when we got to the end of the second quarter, you look at the shot clock, or the game clock, I should say, and Indiana Fever up 10 points. And it seemed like within a blink of an eye, it was a 5-point lead. So they cut that lead from 10 to 5 really fast. And they did that by going on a 5-0 run. So they have the momentum, even though they're down 5, they have the momentum going into the locker room. You always want the momentum at certain stopping points of the game, in spite of the score, whatever the score is. So they had the 5-point lead, Indiana did, going into the locker room. Then again, I'm wondering how we're going to come out in the third quarter. And you know how we came out? I say we because y'all know I love the Fever. So we came out in the third quarter and we didn't play well in the third quarter at all. In fact, Minnesota started the third quarter with a 7-0 run. So you're talking about a 7-0 run to start the third quarter, but the run really goes back to the end of the second quarter where they had a 5-0 run. So we're talking a 12-0 run in the third quarter. Okay, now I know there are a lot of people who want Christy Sides' head on a platter. They're blaming this on her. Some people are blaming it on the officials. Okay, everybody, I guess, shares some blame, just as everybody shares some accolades when a team wins. As far as Coach Sides goes, I don't, again, I've said it all year, I'll say it again, I don't understand her substitution. I don't get why Katie Lou Samuelson is in there. I understand Lexi Hull got in foul trouble. Katie Lou is just not up to the task right now. I'm not hating on Katie Lou. Like I said before, she seems like an amazing teammate. She's a new mother. She's just getting over illness. She hasn't been playing like the Katie Lou I hear she has been. She just hasn't. And so she's out of the starting lineup. Lexi Hull's in the starting lineup. But Katie Lou was in there far too long. Timmy doesn't seem like herself yet. After coming back from injury. But, you know, Timmy's always going to bring you energy, right? But I'd like to see some more from her, some more offensively. Even so, Katie Lou, she's in there too long. And then in the fourth quarter, you begin to get some momentum. You begin to get it going. You feel like you can come back from the deficit you're now in. And Lexi Hull's in foul trouble. She's got 5 fouls, so she's got to go out. My problem with that is not having her out for a while. My problem is how long you gonna have Lexi Hull out, because you know what? You can't take the 6 foul home. At some point, you got to bring her in. At some point, you got to say, listen, you've been playing this game for a few years now. Get out there and do your best to play without fouls. But you need her in there. You need her intensity. You need her defense. I call her fourth quarter Lexi. You need her to be able to knock down shots. Okay. So at some point, you got to go, let's go, Lexi, because again, you can't take that last foul home with you, right? Might as well get in there and get it done. And that's what eventually ended up happening. So some people are criticizing Coach Sides because of the timeouts or lack thereof. She did call a timeout at a good place in the third quarter. I saw that. I like that. Okay, perfect. Good timeout. Try to stop Minnesota's momentum. And then it got worse and worse and worse. And people were in the chat, why isn't she calling a timeout? Why isn't she calling a timeout? Me as a coach, I tend to think I called the timeout. We're trying to make adjustments. At some point, you got to learn to figure it out, to use Side's term. You got to learn to figure it out. Now, should she at some point have said, well, they ain't figuring it out, let's get a timeout? Yes, possibility. But I'm not one to always want the quick timeout. Sometimes, yeah, which she did. But then maybe you needed another one. I don't know. I do know this. I do know that at this stage of the game in these players' career, I don't care if you're a rookie, I don't care if you're a veteran, you ought to know how to box out. Minnesota, you got to give it to them. They're knocking down shots. Nafisa Collier is Nafisa Collier. Caitlin, yeah, Caitlin, she's an amazing three-point shooter. She does a lot of things. She did some things not so well. She has some turnovers at key moments. Not that there's ever a good time for a turnover, but sometimes they're not as bad as others. And I'm going to talk. I said I was not going to get specific. I guess I am getting specific, but I do want to make some other general comments. But back to my point, at this stage in your career, you got to know to box out. That's like 5th grade. You learn that. And all year we've been saying that this team doesn't box out. Kudos to Caitlin Clark. I did see her at one point with a textbook box out. Lexi Hull, generally, she's banging down there. She's trying to box out. But as a whole, this team does not box out. They want to out-jump the opponent. No, you box out. Put a body on somebody. That's what you have to do. That's why you can have a smaller person who can get a rebound against a taller person, because it's not about height. It's not about jumping out of the gym. It's about being able to get in position and to move your body, to slide your body, and then go for the rebound. They don't tend to do that. And it just is what it is. So that was a problem in the game. The shooting for Minnesota, some of the defense from the Fever was terrible. And Minnesota kept doing they kept getting open on the baseline, keep cutting in on the baseline and getting that pass high low, and they did it over and over again. That was a problem. They didn't make those adjustments. So yeah, we got all that going on. As far as the officials are concerned, I said before, the WNBA, if I were the commissioner, one of the 5 things I would do ASAP was get some officials in there who knew what they were doing and who could be consistent. Study tape. You need a task force, study the tape, see who's falling short, get rid of them. But again, I'm not going to blame this loss on the officiating either. Could it have been better? Sure. But you got to stop whining and complaining to the officials, and you got to play the game. Christy Sides, she might want to get in the ear of the officials a little bit more. The players, play ball, get back on defense, play the game. One of the things you know about basketball, if you know basketball, you have to learn really early in each game. You got to be able to see really early in each game how they're calling the game. And then you've got to adjust accordingly. But when they're inconsistent, that makes it difficult, admittedly. So the WNBA needs to clean house there. But again, the officials can't box out for you, can't rebound for you. They can't, you've got to do your part. Can't make the adjustments for you. So you got to look yourself in the mirror. And I know they are. I've heard comments that Caitlin Clark made about herself and that turnover. So they get it. But here's my general point. After I made all these specific points I said I wasn't going to make. My general point is this. Losing is a culture. We talked about that early in the season when the Fever had loss after loss after loss. And I said that there are some players who just don't mind losing because it's become a part of their DNA. They're used to losing. They're not losing sleep over losing. And then you take a player like Caitlin Clark, who may win a game, but knows that she didn't play like she wanted to play, and will stay in the gym, have her boyfriend feed her the ball while she takes shot after shot after shot because her shot's not falling, and she's not happy. She's not happy with her production, and certainly not happy when there's a loss. But some people, they become so accustomed to losing, it becomes who they are. And we saw that was a part of the Fever. In recent years, they haven't had a lot of wins, and so they embraced losing. But I'm gonna tell you something, winning also becomes a part of your DNA. And it doesn't take a whole lot of wins for you to ache for more wins and for you to despise the very thought of losing. And right now, we saw the two hottest teams in the league right now go face to face. Minnesota 7-1 in this stretch, and then of course Indiana 7-1 in this stretch, and Minnesota got the better of the two last night. But this team, the Indiana Fever, they have begun to taste what winning tastes like. They know what winning tastes like, and you know what? They like it. Kelsey Mitchell, she likes it. Caitlin Clark, she likes it. Even down to the Aaliyah Boston, of course, she likes it, and even down to those sitting on the bench, they like it. Coach Sides, she likes it. You don't want to lose, but this is the mistake that you can make, and this is the mistake I believe that the Indiana Fever made last night, on Friday night. After they lost their lead, after they came out on fire, and after things shifted, Indiana Fever were no longer playing to win. What I saw was a team playing not to lose. And there's a world of difference. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can play to win, or you can play not to lose. And the not to lose play is loser basketball. See, this team has been winning, and they want to continue to win. And when they realized that it was getting away from them, and they realized that Minnesota was not going to just lay down and die, or lie down and die, the English teacher in me must correct, then they begin to revert to some old habits. They begin to play scared. Now, I can tell you right now that the Minnesota Lynx, they were sweating a few buckets early in the game. They realized that this Indiana Fever could beat them, and you could feel the tension there. Okay. Now, when that shifted, now you have an Indiana team who realizes that feeling of winning, that dominance that they were experiencing, that turnaround from loss after loss after loss was slipping away from them. And they begin to play like a team trying not to lose instead of a team trying to win. So what do we have? We had more turnovers. We had more people kind of pressing, kind of pushing instead of continuing to play winning basketball. We had a Kelsey Mitchell who has been straight up balling. I'll give it to her. She's someone we said early was sort of a ball hog, was undisciplined, it was a streaky shooter, could be amazing if she learned to play properly. If she learned to play with discipline. But I saw her, you saw her. What did she do? She put her head down 8 times, and she's going straight to the basket. She's putting her head down. She's pushing it. She's forcing shots. We even had Caitlin. She's forcing shots because she's trying to draw a foul. And there's something to be said to try to draw a foul at times, but some of it was just ill-advised. Okay, so again, Kelsey Mitchell, kind of head down, going to the basket. She's not looking to pass it. She's not looking to throw it out. She's just gonna go straight ahead. And again, I'm not trying to ride Kelsey Mitchell because we wouldn't even be in the situation we're in, the positive situation, were it not for Kelsey Mitchell as part of that team. Okay, so yeah, not trying to ride her too hard, but I'm just telling you what I see. And so she reverts back to that, and she take ill-advised shots, and she's doing some of this pressing stuff that she didn't need to do, which is why, because I refuse to let us lose. And you know what? My shot's been falling. Everything's been working. I feel desperate. I'm just going to go for it. Head down, going. And at times it was the wrong decision. Because again, now you're not playing like you were playing as winners. You're playing because you don't want to lose. You're playing from the position of we can't lose rather than the position of, hey, the reason why we're in this streak is because we know what to do to win. And so now you're playing from a place of desperation. And therefore your shots are not falling. You're making bad decisions. To me, it reminds me of that person who made it big, that person who grew up in poverty and then turned it around and made it big. And they say, I tasted what poverty is like. I do not want to go back. I do not want to go back to poverty. And you know what? Because they're coming from that position, they make some poor decisions out of fear of being in the losing circle once again in life. And so I'm afraid to lose. I'm afraid to lose. And so what do? They make poor decisions that affect them and those around them. And we saw that on Friday with this team. They were frustrated. Caitlin Clark was frustrated. Others were frustrated. Why? Because we just don't want to go back to losing. I hate to lose versus I'm just gonna play in the way I know will help us win. It's a whole different position. It's a whole different mindset. It produces a whole different result. And the thing that you're trying so hard not to make happen ends up happening because you're not playing as winners. You're playing as people afraid to lose. So instead of doing the things that you need to do so that you win, you start playing just bad basketball. And you look bad. And the other team who is better coached and more experienced and running like a machine, they're going to smell blood and they're going to come after you. And so instead of boxing out, it's so fundamental. You have to box out. And this is how I end up. I said it during the live. If I look at you and I see you give up offensive rebounds to the other team, you're not boxing out, you're not rebounding. My mindset becomes, if you won't box out, if you won't rebound the basketball, you don't deserve to win. That's just how I see it. You don't deserve to win if you're not going to box out, if you're not going to rebound, if you're going to throw the ball away because you're just so frustrated, if you're making bad decisions like put my head down, just go to the basket, chuck up shots, hope that the official bails me out, when we have seen they ain't interested in bailing y'all out. You've got to get the mindset that these officials are not our friends. And they're not there to be your friend. You just want them to call the game right. But once you realize what you're working with, then you've got to just play your game, get your head in the game and play to win versus playing not to lose. And that's what I saw in this team. And so with playoffs coming, okay, the Indiana Fever need to get it together. Coach Sides, she needs to figure out her substitutions. Maybe she wants Katie Lou to have some more confidence because she's not been playing well. And then she was out for a couple games and now she's out of the starting lineup. So now I want to give her an opportunity. Look, you ain't got time to give her no opportunity. Give her an opportunity next season if she's still there. Okay. You cannot, this is playoff time. You're trying to get a good position. You're trying to win games. I don't understand why she's in the game at moments when she's not. And it's not just like, well, her shot's not falling, but she's playing great defense. No, she's not playing great defense. And this is another thing this team did. This is, again, when you're playing not to lose. You do stuff like what we saw on Friday night, where you're getting beat on defense, you're getting caught behind the person because they're running somebody in on the baseline. You're getting caught out of position. And so what do? You reach and you foul. Because that's what ends up happening. Or you're not boxing out, so you're not getting rebounds. So then when they get the offensive rebound, what do? You're swatting, you're out of position, you foul. You give them an opportunity to get on the line and make shots. And that's what we saw. You didn't make the proper adjustments, so you can't keep your person in front of you. And so they get by you. Now somebody else has to come and help, which means somebody else is open. And then you're trying to play catch up. So what do? You reach in and you foul. So bad basketball begets bad basketball, right? So you got to get better, play your game, and play to win. Play to win, not to lose. That was a double negative, but you know what I'm saying. And the Indiana Fever is a great team. They've been having a great run, and we're not throwing in the towel. We're not throwing them under the bus. But these are some key points that are very important as they head into the playoffs. Because I got to tell you, in spite of that loss, okay, these teams in the WNBA, they know that Indiana is a dangerous team. So this is the time. This is not the time for the coach to be friendly with anybody. This is the time for her to get her substitution patterns right. And if you have to have, somebody in the game because somebody else is in foul trouble, or you give somebody a chance to get a rest, so you put somebody in, you can't have them sitting on the bench that long. And those of you who are in the game, play the game to win. Stop talking to the officials so much. Don't let your frustration kill your spirit, and play good, solid Fever basketball. You can do it. This is the time to do it. So on Sunday, the Indiana Fever will take on the Atlanta Dream. Hey, don't get it twisted. They want to win. They're going to bring it to you. You're coming off a loss. So you know what? Let's get it together. All right. And there were good things in that game. Like I said, we started out well. Caitlin balled out. Aaliyah had she had a decent game. Let's look at what was Aaliyah's stats. Let us see. Hang with me here while I take a look at this. Okay, so Aaliyah had 20 points, not enough rebounds. 5 rebounds from Aaliyah, not enough, but she had 20 points. Kelsey Mitchell had 23 points. Cece almost had another triple-double with 25, 8, and 8. Okay, so I'm not here to say that they, didn't do good things. We know that they did. The problem is that when things seem to slip away, basketball is a game of runs. And when Minnesota began to do their thing, Indiana began to play not to lose instead of playing to win. So take what you did well and grow. Take what you didn't do well and grow. Bottom line, grow. And let's see that growth in Sunday's game. I'm hoping to be on live, so join me. Also, remember, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I appreciate that. And God willing, I'll catch you next time. God bless you abundantly.